Okay, Stephanie's having technical difficulties, so we're going to get the meeting started here to keep things on task. And first of all, Policy and Personnel Committee meeting. First of all, can we have a call to order, or a roll call, please? Board Member Levy?
Here.
Board Member Wong, I am here. And we're waiting for Board Member Jacobs. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I will second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes.
I have a couple questions. Is Secretary Michelle, is she present?
She is. She's working through the technical difficulties with Board Member Jacobs at the moment.
Okay. Is there someone else available to help Board Member Jacobs so Board Member Shope could address a couple items in the minutes?
She says she can handle that, so she can jump on here.
Just let me know when she's ready.
Yep. Ready? Okay, she's ready.
Perfect. All right. For me, it's on the second page. The passage starts with Wong asked who determines. That last sentence says she asked Love if something needed to be, and then the sentence is incomplete, so I'm not sure what should go there. And so spoiler alert, I'm going to ask that we postpone the approval of the minutes to our next question, but I would like to flag my issues so that Secretary Shope can go back and fill that in. For me, it's on page 3. It's the sentence that says, Keiser stated that the current practice is to offer employees a conditional offer of employment based on, but then that sentence isn't finished, so, and I don't recall off the top of my head what that statement was.
Okay, I see
I
that.
have a couple more, so just let me know when you're ready for me to move on.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, and then for me, towards the bottom of that page, the passage that starts with move to amend policy 522.11, just the spelling of education, if we could get that edited. And then the final sentence that isn't complete, for me, it's on page 4, and it's the passage that starts, Levy asked Williams the current process. It's that last sentence that says, Love stated that just posting in one place would not. However, the steps about.
Okay.
And then there's not an ending.
Okay, I had fixed those, so it must not have saved them, or I forgot to hit the save or something. So I will get those taken care of and put them on the next agenda. I apologize for that.
No problem. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so then do we need a motion to postpone the minutes to the next meeting?
I move that we postpone our minutes for approval this evening to our next policy and personnel meeting.
And I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. So we move on to number 2, policies for first reading, the policy 511, affirmative action and equal opportunity employment. And we have Attorney Love on the line with us. So I think she's going to walk us through that. Or I know there was a number of edits in this. So I'm going to pass the floor over to you, Susan.
Okay, and there were a number of questions, so let's just walk through the document. And the first thing I have is a question that said, or a comment, it would be helpful to outline the parameters of this statement, and that statement is that no position shall be filled until underrepresented persons, including but not limited to African Americans, Hispanics, Pacific Islanders, etc., women and persons with disabilities have been sought out and qualified candidates encouraged to apply. So the process there, I mean, you could certainly spell out something, but if you're going to follow the process that was discussed at the last meeting, which is a more general policy statement, and then
okay, can you hear me now?
Being
okay, I cannot hear you guys. Pardon? I hear you on the phone.
Yeah, during the middle of the meeting, though, why don't you mute yours real quick?
Okay.
Okay, so can I continue here?
Yes, yes, please do.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what I would suggest is what that statement really means is that if there is underrepresentation in a job, that you will engage in this outreach. And normally what that means is that you contact organizations that would be willing, one of two things. You either advertise on sites that would reach out to the specific underrepresented group. So for example, if it was women, you would either post on a website or a job site that would specifically reach out to women or minorities, or you actually reach out to organizations in your geographic area that would contact or publish the vacancy that you are attempting to fill. So without being very specific in terms of identifying where that outreach would take place, my suggestion would be that you could add a statement that would say, including engaging in outreach to representative organizations, or something to that effect.
Vice Chair Wong, I don't know if you can see my raised hand. Is it okay if I jump in?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. No, you're fine. Quick question. This might be a little bit out of the box, but it seems to me that for the affirmative action policy, at least it makes sense to me to have an action plan alongside it, because I don't want to get overly descriptive and writing out every nuance in the policy, because I'm a fan of keeping policies efficient and brief, but not brevity where you would lose the meaning. But for example, and the reason I thought of this is Dr. Kieser had kind of signed on, correct me if I'm wrong, to the idea that we would do our affirmative action or our diversity information quarterly instead of annually. So it would make sense to me if we had an action plan specific to policy 511 that dealt with the details of this. So in that document, you could explain like what this means without overburdening the policy. Does that make sense? Is that feasible?
I mean, that's, if you were asking me, I mean, from a legal perspective, you should be developing action plans for addressing underrepresentation. Wouldn't necessarily be in the policy, but you're absolutely right in terms of when you develop an affirmative action plan, one of the things you do is you identify where there is underrepresentation in the organization, and you develop an action plan that spells out the steps that you're going to take to address that underrepresentation, which could include attending job fairs, having quarterly contact with local minority organizations, or any number of things that you decide are best to recruit the types of candidates and the types of positions that you're looking to fill.
And I would add what Board Member Levy was referring to was at our last meeting we inserted a sentence that would say the superintendent or designee shall report to the board their efforts to address underutilization quarterly. No.
Board Member Wong, would you like me to take over, or do you want to continue?
You can take over. I was looking to see if there was any questions on that.
Board Member Levy just raised her hand.
Okay. Go ahead, Board Member
Thank
Levy.
you.
Thank you. So here's my suggestion. I don't want to review this policy just because it's on our docket. I really want to get this right, and I'm not saying that is anyone's intention. What do we think about holding off on this policy and putting it as a priority with our work with, I believe it's Cambia, to make sure that the policy, of course we have legal obligations, but that practically it's in line with what we are saying our equity vision is for the district. And then simultaneously, we're developing that action plan along with the administration to make sure that we don't just have words on a page, that we have a way to identify when underrepresentation is occurring and a way to remedy it. And everything is cohesive. Everything's cohesive.
I have no problem with that. I think that would be in alignment.
When is it scheduled? When's Cambia scheduled when are we going through that process?
I have my first meeting with them next week.
Was that your question? Oh, thank you, John, or I mean, Board Member Wong. Board Member Wong?
Dr. Keyser, in that meeting, have they provided you any information ahead of time as far as work that or information you're to provide them ahead of time?
No, this is literally we've notified them that they won the RFP, and so this is our first introductory meeting with myself and the executive team.
Okay. Then I think at that time it'd be appropriate to make sure that that's front and center for them so that they're aware that they will be going through and reviewing this policy 511 as well.
Absolutely. I think
I'm ready for a motion if
Yep.
you need one.
Yeah. I
I
move,
move that we postpone the review of policy 511 until Dr. Keyser has a chance to present this to Cambia and place this as a priority with the equity work that we will do with them.
I'll second that.
Is there, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second
Point of order.
to,
Could I have the motion repeated?
I'll do my best. I move that we postpone the review of policy 511, affirmative action and equal opportunity employment, until Dr. Keyser has an opportunity in his meeting next week with Cambia to list this as a priority for review as a part of our overall equity work.
Board Member Wong?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Okay, now Board Member Levy, I'm going to probably shorten it up if that's okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to postpone the affirmative action and equal opportunity policy 511 until Dr. Keyser has time to review it with Cambria. Are there any questions or discussions?
I would just like to add that we have this is a priority.
I'm sorry, Board Member Levy, could you say that again?
No problem. I just wanted to be clear that our committee feels that this is a priority for the work that we're doing with Cambia.
Do you want me to add something to that effect? Or just affirmation that we agree?
Adding would be great.
Help me out with the language, please, Board Member Levy, then, that you're looking for.
Pardon my interruption, but I do have it in the motion.
You do. Could you read it, please, Ms.
Yep.
Show?
This is what I have, and you can tell me if I need to change anything. I have moved to postpone the review of policy 511, affirmative action and equal opportunity employment, until Dr. Keyser has an opportunity in his meeting next week with, is it Cambio Group, as a priority in his overall work in equity. Do I need to change
that's all right.
anything? Was that accurate,
Okay.
or do I need to change anything?
I would just change his to ours so we know it's the board administration team.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or discussions? Thank you, Board Member Levy. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion passes. And we are on to personnel recs for December 15th. Very short for this time of year, not unusual. Any questions or discussions on the employment recs?
I have two quick questions, neither of which will cause the need to go into closed session. On Exhibit B, the two individuals that are listed, the first assignment lists community building, and I have no idea what that is. And the second assignment lists student engagement. I have a pretty good idea what that is, but if someone could specify just so we're clear on what those roles are, that would be great. And my second question, which may actually be my third, is that I'm just wondering why the effective date is August 24th and we're reviewing it on December 15th.
Evening. This is Tanya Williams, HR Director. Hope everyone is doing well. I can give some context around those addendums. So let me pull that up. So the community building, that is to continue building the Gaston community spirit, to build a sense of belonging for students and families, thinking about community service for student leaders. And then the student engagement was for to foster our students in providing them a voice to get them more involved, fostering student leadership, focusing on engaging students in learning, and both addendums are working towards the goals of their school improvement plan. Unfortunately, I can't confirm the date of 8/24, but many times when we're releasing the addendum for the work that our folks are doing in the building, it goes retroactive to 8/24, and we're waiting for our building principals to confirm when we can release those addendums, but we pay them retroactive to 8/24.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, board member.
Just for clarification, it's the same amount, whether you're calling it retroactive pay, current pay, etc.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So is there some bookkeeping reason that hasn't been discussed as to why we would put the effective date for 4 months ago? Why couldn't we just have the effective date of 12/15 since that's when it's being reviewed?
Joanne, are you online so you could probably talk through the finance payroll piece?
And while we're waiting for her, just a clarifying question. It sounds like the two jobs that you described are the same thing, unless I'm missing something. Is that accurate?
And so may I interrupt for a moment, Ms. Williams? I saw that Attorney Love has had her hand up, and I'm not sure if you don't, Ms. Williams, Attorney Love.
I just didn't want to disconnect without checking in. I was on for the purpose of the personnel policy that is not going to be discussed any further. So is everybody okay with me disconnecting from the meeting?
Yes, Ms. Love, and thank you so much, our Attorney Love.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. I'm sorry, Ms. Williams?
Sure. So the way that Ms. Lewis provided the context around the two addendums, the community piece is really involving the families and then building the Gaston community spirit. And with the student engagement, that was more around the student focus.
And I apologize, this is Joanne Armstrong, and I didn't, because there was the interruption, I didn't catch what you were asking for my clarification on. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. I was just wondering, I'm assuming the amount stays the same because Ms. Williams had mentioned something about retroactive pay. So whether you call it retroactive pay or current pay, the number's not going to change. And I'm just wondering, is there some bookkeeping concern that I'm missing? Because for me, it doesn't make sense to have an effective date of August 24th when it's being reviewed December 15th. And then my kind of part B to that question is, why are we reviewing this on December 15th if there's an effective date of August 24th?
Okay. I think the context to that is addendums are issued at the building levels for, these would be principal choice. They have some discretion in 3 of their addendums, and so this is what Ms. Lewis had identified. And those addendums are for year-round work. There was questions on what was actually going to be addendum work in a virtual environment, and we wanted verifications that work was actually being done and engagement was happening with all of our addendums before they issued the approval for payment on our addendums. It's much like coaches, and when their season will get started, that pay will be for their season. So this is, our addendums are issued for the school year, and the expectation that we would have from Ms. Williams, Ms. Lewis at Gaston, is that these individuals have been continuously working through these processes through this year in a distance, and they have proven her schedule to her. Ideally, yes, we would have had all this information, but I don't know that the documentation of all her work and her expectations was there in August when we were doing the distance, but we approve addendums for the year. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I think the effective date was what was throwing me off, because it was an approval date, but I mean, that's semantics. I'm not going to get caught up in. For Secretary Shope, if you could just make sure that that is outlined in the minutes, then I'm fine with that, as long as we have an explanation to go with the documentation.
Yeah, and that August 24th, and I'm sorry if I got kind of circled around that, that's the effective date of professional educators' contracts for the 2021 school year. So if we're offering addendums and it's not a seasonal, like the fall play or something like that, that's a seasonal addendum, it would be for their educators' contract. So that is how that date was determined. My apologies for the long wraparound.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for my own clarification, Ms. Armstrong, it is just due to COVID. Normally, the district has a cutoff date that principals need to have that info in normal times, correct?
Yes, we give them a timeline for their addendum issues, and the only exceptions to that per se would be if they were unable to fill that addendum, or it was a newly developed program that they didn't have instituted at the very start of the school year.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion?
I move approval of the employee recs Exhibit A and B
I'll second that.
for December 15, 2020.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the December 15, 2020 employment recs, Exhibit A and Exhibit B. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion carries. And that brings us then to adjournment, but before
We have
we
minutes.
do, excuse me?
We have approval of, oh, no, we don't, because we're not in closed session. Sorry. You're correct.
No, that's okay. I got it right. Board Member Wong, I'm so
You
excited.
did.
I did, yeah. I do want to apologize to the public for my difficulty in getting on right away, and thank you, Board Member Wong, Vice President Wong, in this case, Chairperson, for taking over till I could. And if I am correct, our next meeting date will be Tuesday, January 12th. Okay, cool. Great. And the time to be announced. So we're at adjournment, and do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for an adjournment. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.